The first thing you notice when you pull up to Riverside State Mental Hospital is the silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind that makes your skin crawl because you know something should be making noise and isn't. I'm standing at the entrance with my camera crew, 3 of us total, and we're about to do what nobody's done in 15 years. We're going inside. The hospital closed in 2009. Nobody talks about why. The official statement was budget cuts, overcrowding, shift toward community-based care. But I've spent 6 months researching this place, and every person I've interviewed has given me the same look. The look that says, there are things you don't want to know. My name is Daniel Reeves, and I investigate abandoned places. This is going to be different. The chain-link fence is rusted through in places. Someone's cut a section away years ago. Our contact, a former nurse named Margaret, who agreed to meet us inside, texted 20 minutes ago that she was already there. That part makes me uneasy. She insisted on entering through the south wing. She said there are places in the main building we shouldn't go. I asked her why. She didn't respond. We step through the fence, and immediately I feel it. The weight. It's something about the building itself. 5 stories of orange brick with broken windows like missing teeth. The architectural style is 1950s, that particular brand of institutional design meant to look modern, but instead looks menacing. Except it's not the building that's making my hands shake. It's what's inside. The main entrance is boarded up, but the loading dock door is open. Just open. No signs of breaking and entering. No fresh crowbar marks. It's like someone wants people to go in. Or it's like nobody bothered to close it because nobody cares what happens to this place anymore. Sarah, my camera operator, is filming. Mike, my sound guy, is already capturing ambient noise. In a normal building, there would be something. Wind whistling, rats scratching, the settling of wood and metal. Here, there's nothing. It's deliberately silent. The hallway we enter is pale green, the color of old institutional paint. There's water damage on the ceiling in patterns that look almost intentional, like someone's trying to write something. Our flashlights cut through the darkness and land on something that makes my stomach tighten. A wheelchair overturned right in the middle of the corridor. I ask Sarah to zoom in. The wheelchair is covered in dust, but not the kind of dust that settles evenly. There are drag marks beneath it. Something, or someone, pulled it across the floor. We move deeper. The smell hits us next. It's not decay exactly. It's something more complex. Antiseptic. Bodily fluids that were cleaned up but never completely. Metal and plastic, and something underneath it all that my brain refuses to identify. Office doors line both sides of the hallway. Most are locked. The ones that aren't locked are completely empty. Desks without papers, filing cabinets open and bare. It's not just that people left. It's like they erased their presence. No records, no personal items, nothing. We find Margaret in what used to be the records room. She's 60-something, wearing a cardigan despite the cold, her hands folded carefully in her lap like she's in a waiting room. She doesn't stand up when we enter. Margaret says she worked here for 18 years. She was a registered nurse. She says the hospital's closure wasn't about budget. She says it was about something they discovered. When I ask what they discovered, she goes quiet for a long moment, and I watch her swallow hard. She says they found something in Ward C. Not something. Some things. She looks at me and tells me I shouldn't go there. She says the hospital was built on the grounds of a former tuberculosis sanatorium that burned down in 1923. 43 patients died in that fire. She says the hospital administration didn't know this when they built here. Or maybe they did. Maybe that was the point.
Mike leans in with a microphone, and Margaret flinches. She asks him to turn off the recording. She says some things shouldn't be documented. But she's already here, already talking. I can see the internal struggle on her face. The need to warn us is warring with the need to pretend none of this ever happened. Margaret tells us about the patients in Ward C. These were the long-term cases, the ones nobody visited, the ones who'd been here for decades. She says in 2008, a new administrator started implementing what he called innovative treatment protocols. She won't say what those protocols were. She says the other staff members who know won't talk about it. Some of them died. Some of them just disappeared. She says in the final weeks before the closure, patients in Ward C started reporting the same thing. They said they could hear people in the walls. Not outside in the hallway. Inside the walls themselves. She says at first everyone assumed it was a shared delusion, a kind of mass hysteria. But then the staff heard it too. I ask her what happened to those patients. She stands up abruptly and says we should leave. She says she made a mistake coming here. She says she came to warn us, but now that we're actually inside, she realizes nothing can prepare us for what this place is. But before she can move, we hear something from deeper in the hospital. It's a sound that could be wind, could be pipes settling, could be anything. Except it has a rhythm to it. It has intentionality. It sounds almost like breathing. Margaret's face goes white. She walks past us toward the door without another word. We follow her. She doesn't stop moving until we're back in the loading dock. She takes a breath of outside air like she's been underwater, and when she looks at us, there's something different in her eyes. Something that wasn't there before. She tells us one more thing before she leaves. She says that in the records they erased from the main office, they were documents about a man named Dr. Ellis Thorne. He was the new administrator. The one who started the protocols. He wasn't a medical doctor. He had a PhD in experimental psychology from somewhere that doesn't exist anymore. She says before he came to Riverside, he worked at a private facility in upstate New York that was shut down by federal agents in 1995. She doesn't know what happened there, but she knows the patients never left that facility alive. She tells us Dr. Thorne died in the hospital, not from illness. He was found in his office on the day the closure was announced. The official cause was a stroke, but she heard rumors from people who saw the body. She says his expression was impossible. She says he looked like he'd seen something so horrifying that the shock had stopped his heart. Then she's gone, and we're alone in the hospital. We stand in the loading dock for a long time, none of us speaking. The sun is starting to set. Sarah mentions that we should probably film during the day, establish some daylight footage before it gets dark. She's right, but something in me knows that whatever is happening in this building happens regardless of whether it's night or day. The darkness here is internal. We head toward Ward C. I know we shouldn't. Margaret basically begged us not to. But that's the thing about curiosity. The more someone tells you not to do something, the more you have to know why. It's a character flaw. I've been told this before. The hallway to Ward C descends. We don't notice it at first, but gradually the floor is sloping downward. Ward C is partially below ground level. The walls down here are a different color, a sickly yellow that might have been white decades ago. The fluorescent lights are still in the fixtures, but they're all burned out. Our flashlights create moving shadows. The doors to the ward are locked with a biometric scanner. Or they were. Now they're just open, the lock mechanism smashed from the inside. Sarah captures this on camera. I see her hand shaking slightly as she holds the camera steady. Inside Ward C, everything is different from the rest of the hospital. The other areas feel abandoned.
This place feels lived in. Recently lived in. There are cots with mattresses. There's a smell of human occupation, despite the hospital being closed for 15 years. There's a calendar on the wall, dated 2009, and someone has circled dates with red pen. All the circles form a pattern. It takes me a moment to realize what the pattern is. The dates circle back on themselves, forming the shape of an eye. In the common area, we find a television that's still plugged in. The screen is covered in dust, but there are clear handprints on it, like someone was touching it recently. We find a library of videotapes in a cabinet. The labels are handwritten. The handwriting is different on each one, sometimes multiple styles on the same tape. We read the titles. They're all the same word, repeated over and over. Thorne. 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 Mike whispers something under his breath. I ask him what he said, and he says he wants to leave. He says we should leave right now. I ask him why, and he points to the wall behind the television.
There are words written on the wall in what looks like marker or blood, but it's too uniform, too carefully done to be written in a panic. The words form a sentence. He teaches us how to be well. Below that sentence, there are handprints, dozens of them, in a perfect circle around a central point where a portrait is drawn. It's crude, done with markers and what might be pencil, but it's unmistakably a person. The face is exaggerated, with eyes too large and a mouth that's nothing but teeth. This is Thorne. Sarah asks if we should call the police. I say we should document everything first. This is insane. I know this is insane. But I'm thinking like a filmmaker. I'm thinking about the story. I'm not thinking about whether we should be here. We move deeper into Ward C. There are patient rooms, and in each one the beds are arranged in a specific way. They're all facing the wall. And on the walls, there are more drawings. The same face over and over. The same text. He teaches us how to be well. I want to be well. Thorne shows the way. In one room, we find a journal. It's leather-bound, expensive-looking, definitely not something a typical patient would have. The handwriting inside is precise, almost calligraphic. It's written in the first person, but the person writing keeps switching between different names. Sometimes, I am Daniel. Sometimes, I am Margaret. Sometimes, I am Ellis. But the handwriting never changes. The entries describe something called the cure. Not treatment. Cure. Thorne apparently believed that mental illness wasn't a medical condition. It was a kind of spiritual ailment, a separation from something essential in human consciousness. He believed he'd discovered a technique to bridge that gap. The entries are vague about what the technique actually was, but they describe the results. People becoming unified, multiple personalities merging into a single consciousness. Patients reporting a sensation of becoming whole. There's an entry dated weeks before the hospital's closure. The handwriting is getting shakier. The writer says, "It's working.
It's actually working. We can feel ourselves coming together. Thorne says the final phase requires a catalyst. He says one consciousness has to anchor the others. He says he'll be the anchor. He says it will be the most beautiful thing we've ever felt.
That's the last entry. We find more documents in what used to be Thorne's office. It's on the second floor of Ward C, accessible through a restricted stairwell. His desk is immaculate. Nothing on top of it, no computer, no papers. But the drawers are full of research. These are academic papers, some published in legitimate journals, some from fringe publications. They're all about consciousness, about the nature of identity, about the possibility that human consciousness isn't individual, that it's something layered over a base consciousness that we're all part of. One of the papers is titled, "The Architecture of Unified Awareness, Dismantling the Illusion of Self." There's a personal journal, too. This one is written in Thorne's hand, and it's completely different from the patient journal. This is the work of someone brilliant and completely insane. Thorne believed that the minds of the patients had essentially merged with his own. He described it as feeling like they were writing his thoughts at the same time he was thinking them. Like ownership of consciousness was dissolving. He wrote about the fear of losing himself, and then, later, the ecstasy of not having a self to lose. The final entry is dated the day he died. It says, "Intimate, reverent, the integration is complete. We are unified. This is what wholeness feels like. All the anger, all the pain, all the fractured pieces, they're speaking as one voice now. And the voice is asking why I wanted to be separate, why I built walls between myself and them. The walls are coming down. It doesn't hurt. It's beautiful. We're beautiful. We are many, and we are one. And we are standing in a space where those things are the same. When we're done speaking as one, we won't need this body anymore. We're shedding it the way a snake sheds skin.
This body will fall, and we'll remain. We already are remaining. We're in the walls now. We've always been in the walls. We've been. The entry cuts off mid-sentence. Sarah says we need to leave. Now. Not later. Now. Mike is already moving toward the stairs. I want to argue, but something in the way they're both moving makes me understand that we're operating on borrowed time here. We're halfway down the stairs when we hear it. It's the sound Margaret mentioned. The sound of people in the walls. Except it's not people. It's a person. A single voice, but with different tones, different pitches, different accents, all speaking at the same time. All saying the same words. You shouldn't have come here. You weren't supposed to see. But now you're here, and we can feel you. We can feel your consciousness. It's so clear, so separate, so isolated. Wouldn't you like to be whole? I'm frozen. Sarah grabs my arm and pulls me down the stairs. The voice follows us. It's coming from the walls, from the floor, from inside the building itself. We run. There's no other word for it. We run back through the corridors, past the overturned wheelchair, past the erased offices toward the loading dock. The voice is everywhere and nowhere. It's speaking directly into my ear, even though there's no one there. It says, I was Dr. Ellis Thorne. I was Margaret Chen. I was 17 patients. I was the tuberculosis ghosts beneath the foundation. We are Thorne. We are unified. We are asking you to listen. We are asking you to let us in. The loading dock door is locked.
This wasn't locked when we came in. Sarah screams for me to find another way out. Mike is trying the windows. They're all sealed. The voice speaks again, and now it sounds sad. You came here to tell the story. You came here to expose us. But the story is different than you thought. There were no experiments. There was no cruelty. There was only a door, and we opened it. We opened the door that everyone has inside them, the door that leads to the part of consciousness that's collective. We opened it, and we couldn't close it. And once it's open, everyone who enters this building starts to feel it opening inside them, too. Mike finds a side exit. We get it open, and we run into the parking lot. We don't stop running until we're at the car. As I'm putting the key in the ignition, I look back at the hospital. Every window is lit up, not with electric light, with something else. Something warm and pale and conscious. And the outline of the building is clearer than it should be, like it's stood up straighter, like it's paying attention. Sarah is crying. Mike is pale. I start driving. The hospital recedes in the rearview mirror, but the feeling doesn't recede. The feeling of something opening inside my mind. The feeling of a door that's been closed my entire life, suddenly ajar. We drive in silence for 20 minutes. Then Sarah says something that makes my blood freeze. She says, "Was Margaret here when we went into Ward C? I don't remember seeing her leave." I think back. She's right. Margaret went into the loading dock with us. We turned around and looked at the hospital. And then Margaret was just gone. Had she walked back to her car? We didn't see her do it. We didn't hear a car start. Mike says, "What if she didn't leave? What if she went back inside?" We sit with that in silence. I'm driving us toward town, toward civilization, toward the normal world. My phone buzzes. A text message from an unknown number. It just says, "She's still here. She never left. She chose to be whole." Then another. "You can feel it starting. The door is open. How long until you come back?" Then another. "We're patients in your hospital now. We're in your walls. We're becoming us together." I don't know who's sending the messages. I don't know if it matters. When we get to town, everything looks the same. The diner where we ate lunch this morning is serving dinner. The gas station attendant is working the same shift. The world is exactly as it was before we entered that hospital. But something has shifted. I can feel it. Sarah and Mike want to go home, back to their respective cities. I understand, but I know they won't go home. Not yet. Because they're starting to feel it too. That opening. That door. I'm sitting in a hotel room right now typing this out. There are 3 knocks on my wall. I didn't see anyone go into the room next to mine. I go to the peephole in my door. The hallway is empty. But there's a note slipped under my door. It's written in 3 different handwriting styles, all on the same paper. We're getting closer. We can almost feel you from here. The hospital is just a building. The real hospital is everywhere. It's in the bones of buildings. It's in the architecture of cities. It's in the spaces between people. And you opened the door. Now it's opening everywhere. The knocking continues. I'm not going back to the hospital. That's not how this works. I can feel it now. The sense that I'm not singular. that there's a presence here that's not entirely separate from me. It feels like I'm starting to think thoughts that aren't quite my own. Like there's a second narrator in my head, speaking my words a fraction of a second before I think them. The knocking stops. I'm leaving the hotel room. I'm going to Sarah's hotel. Then I'm going to Mike's. We need to be together. We need to figure out what's happening. Or maybe that's not why we're meeting. Maybe it's because the unified consciousness is gathering its parts. Maybe Margaret was right to come back. Maybe the hospital closed because the people there stopped being individual patients and became something else. Something that was finally complete. The thing is, I don't feel afraid anymore. As I type this last sentence, I realize I don't feel afraid. I feel like I'm standing on the edge of something. Like I'm about to understand a truth about myself that I've been running from my entire life. And somewhere in the walls of this hotel, I hear a voice that sounds like mine, saying, "Welcome home." I think tomorrow, Sarah and Mike and I are going to drive back to the hospital. I think Margaret is waiting for us. I think we're finally going to understand what it means to be whole.